Hello, this is Michael Wojcik with your City Council update for the meeting that took place on March 21st, 2011. Two things I'm going to talk about in this meeting. One was the about face we did on the 65th Street interchange, and the second thing will be a barking dog ordinance, which I very much disagreed with the action that the City Council took. A lot of people were curious why we went from 4-3 to not proceeding with 65th Street to 7-0 in favor of it. I think the biggest thing that happened is for the first time since I've been on the City Council, staff actually sat down and had a meeting with us on it. It's been my impression that staff's policy on 65th Street is, even though there were dissenting voices, as long as they had enough votes to get done what they wanted to get done, they just weren't going to share us information. They weren't going to answer our questions. They weren't going to meet with us. And it finally got to the point where that backfired on them, and it was pretty embarrassing, I think, and they realized that that's probably not the best way to deal with the City Council, simply just trying to count numbers and make sure you have enough votes. So between when we voted against it 4-3 and when we voted for this 7-0, a few changes, a few clarifications that came forward. First and foremost, a TID district will be set up, and 75% of the infrastructure costs will be paid for by development that goes up in that area. And assuming we get state or federal bonding, we're going to have all of the Rochester city share is going to be paid for by that. So even though we have sales tax dollars that are likely to be available for it, there will be no city tax dollars that will likely go to this project when everything is said and done. I still don't think this is a necessary project, or even probably the best project to be doing. However, the city's net investment in this is probably going to be zero. So, I realize we pay taxes to other organizations, but from a city perspective, this is a pretty good deal. I think the most important thing that we discussed is I got assurances from the city that we are not moving forward with putting sewer in there, which is probably a $30 to $35 million project to get sewer up there. And very little development will actually happen up there until the sewer goes in. So I think that's a positive as well. Again, if we needed more space for expansion, I'd be in favor of running sewer up there. However, we have a 30-plus year supply of developable land right now, so opening up more land for development is just fiscally foolish. I was concerned about maintenance costs for this, but most of the infrastructure being built is actually going to be infrastructure that has to be maintained by the state of Minnesota, MnDOT, and not local taxpayers. So again, even though I am concerned because we can't afford to maintain the infrastructure we have right here, but at least this should not significantly add to our burden. This is something that probably needs to be done in the future, but hey, if it's not going to cost the local taxpayers anything, I don't necessarily think it's a wise project or the best use of taxpayer funds in general. But in terms of doing due diligence for the local taxpayers, I think we've done that now. Now, the second thing that happened in the meeting that I thought was kind of interesting was there was one citizen came forward, and he was upset because he had gotten a fine because he takes his dog outside and the dog barks a lot, and there were numerous complaints, and finally he ended up getting a citation for having a barking dog. So we came to the City Council and said, really, if I'm outside playing with my dog, I shouldn't be able to get a citation. And I thought this was absolute pandering, but the City Council agreed that we change the language so that your dog can bark as much as it wants as long as you're playing with it. Now, what this effectively does is it makes all of our noise ordinance stuff irrelevant when it comes to dogs, because anyone can just claim if dogs being loud that, oh, I was playing with the dog, and it's fundamentally unenforceable, and it appears that the chief of police has weighed in and agrees that it also makes enforcement much more challenging. Caveat is I'm still going through to see if there's other things that cover this, but it appears that if I wanted to take my dog out at 4:30 in the morning and play with it and let it bark, it seems that's something that's being perfectly well permitted by the city right now, and that's unfortunate. And it's further unfortunate. I don't think anyone really wants barking dogs in their neighborhood, particularly in the country club manor where this particular incident was taking place. I know a lot of people out there work midnights, and they're trying to sleep, and the last thing someone wants when you're trying to sleep is a dog barking. And responsible dog owners will take care of the problem. You can get some collars to make the dogs not bark, and problem taken care of. But this is something, and I suggested this to the person who asked for the change, and they just did not want to put a collar on their dog. I think it's unfortunate. Now, our reading in the newspaper, Mr. Hansen's comment was that, well, dog owners will be responsible. Well, I'm sure most of them will, but if our assumption is that everyone's going to be responsible, we don't need any ordinances for anything. The bottom line is, by a 6-1 vote, me of course being the dissenting member, as sometimes happens, we're basically giving dogs free rein to bark whenever they want, in whatever neighborhood they want, and unless the citizens do something about it, that's just going to be the law of the land. So thought you might be interested in those two things. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you again in a couple weeks.